So I've had a lot of you ask me how I make my reels and my TikToks. Well, basically in this video today, I'm going to do a complete tutorial on how I make them completely from the start of when I get the raw footage to the complete finished thing. But these type of videos have not only been proven to go viral on TikTok, but also Instagram. And more recently, I'm trying out YouTube Shorts with it as well as. In the past week or so, I completely changed my content on TikTok to these type of posts. And since I started posting these, not only am I posting less, but I'm getting way more views. And in the past week of posting these type of TikToks, I've gained over 4 million views. Not only that, I've gained over 13,000 followers just within the past 7 days. And to put it in perspective, I had an account roughly about 50 to 60,000 followers, and now we're sitting at about 74,000. I've also re-uploaded a lot of these onto Instagram as a reel, and even at a time of having a small following under 1,000 followers, I've gained views of well over 10k and above. And now I'm currently testing these out as YouTube Shorts just to see if I can get similar interaction on there. Before we do get into the video, I'd really appreciate it if you did leave the like button blue. It would help me out a lot. Anyway, let's get into the video. So before we start making any edits, first we're going to have to download these apps. So obviously the first app we're going to need is whatever platform that your page is on. You'll be able to post these type of videos to either TikTok, Instagram or YouTube as a short. But the popular app we're going to be doing all of our editing on is CapCut. The main reason why I use CapCut is just because it's so easy to use. You can see why a lot of people use it just because of its simplicity. But I think it's probably one of the best ways to edit any of your posts, especially on your phone. By the way, if you're wondering where I am, I'm currently at the beach where I live. So once you've downloaded the necessary apps that you're going to need, we're then going to actually need to find the content that we're going to be editing. Now, the type of content that you use is obviously going to depend on the page that you're running. So for example, in my case, I'm running a finance page. So also I'm going to try and relate my content to finance/business type of posts. But for no matter what page you're running, the number one way where I find my content is pretty much through YouTube. Whether it be from a film or a podcast, this is where I get all my content from. There are a couple of ways you can get the content from YouTube to your phone. Some ways are that you can use certain websites to download the videos. However, the way I do it, and the very easy way, is just to screen record your phone. One thing to bear in mind though is that you should try and find videos with higher quality resolution. It doesn't matter too much if you really want to post videos with a lower quality but they're a one-of-a-kind video, then yeah, fair enough. But obviously if you use videos with higher quality, inevitably at the end of the edit they're gonna look higher quality. This does not mean you need to get something in 4K. I'm just saying in general, try get something 1080p or 720p, whatever it is. So once you've screen recorded and you've got your content and you've got it in your photos, then what you want to do is tap the top right on edit, then we're going to press crop, and then at the top right here you've got two icons, and the icon with loads of rectangles in it, you want to click on that, and then at the bottom here you want to scroll across where it says original, and then you'll see here there's two different types of video. You've got this landscape one where you want to go over and press the portrait one. Then what you want to do is you want to slide across so the dimensions is 9:16. This is basically the dimensions to make it full screen on whatever you're posting on. Then you will just want to crop it out so that you don't have black at the edges, and then at this point you can then save that. Once you're done with that, you then can go back and edit, and then you can just scroll across to see what actually fits within that frame and make however many you need, so you've got all the content that you need within the frame. Then what we're going to do is go to CapCut, then you're going to press the white plus button to then add all the videos in. Then once you put in all the raw clips, you can then tap on the clips and hold the white bars just to cut out what part of the clips you don't need. To cut a clip, you can simply just press on it and then press split at the bottom left, and then to delete it, again, it's just by pressing on the clip and then going across on the tab on the bottom and pressing delete. Like I said before, this is why I use CapCut, just because it's so easy to use. After you cut up the clips you don't need, just make it all chronological. You can just simply rearrange them by holding them down, and you can just rearrange by sliding along the clips, just so to put it in chronological order so the video you're making actually makes sense. So at this stage you should have the raw clip that you've got from YouTube just in a portrait dimension. Just to double check it does fill your screen, you can press the button that looks like an expand button just top right of the clips, just to see if your clips do fill your screen. Now at this point, this is where I add watermarks. Especially if you're running a theme page, it makes your videos look higher quality when you add a watermark of maybe your logo or at least the name of your account on the post somewhere. I briefly touched on this in my previous video where I talk about making an Instagram theme page from scratch, but if you do want to make a watermark of your logo, for example, all you've got to do is make the background transparent. Now I use Affinity Photo for iPad just because I have got it there to access, but there are so many free websites online just to make your background transparent if you need to. It doesn't matter too much if you haven't got a transparent logo. I just add it to my post because I think it looks quite professional, and if anyone thinks of copying them, then they're going to see who actually actually made them. So for these type of posts, I add two types of watermarks. One, like I said, is my logo. It's really good on CapCut because it aligns its center of the page for you, and I make it fairly small just so it doesn't get in the way, but you know it's still there. And then I also have my username, and I make it roughly about 50% transparent. So again, you know it's there, but it doesn't get in the way on the actual post. When you do put the watermarks in, make sure you scroll across right to the end of the clip so that they cover the whole clip. There's nothing worse than making a clip and then looking at the end and then they somehow cut out somewhere. The next thing we want to go and add is our text. One really good trick I have when adding text. Similarly to the watermarks, you want to make the text as long as the clips. In a moment, you'll see why this is so much easier, and you go back and edit all the text. All you've got to do is just cut out each individual text rather than keep adding on text. You'll see why in a moment. I chose a really good time to come out because it is freezing. Anyway, once you've put that in, you want to make sure the text isn't that big, just so it doesn't cover up what the post actually is. Again, it's really good on CapCut. You can align it so it's center of the post. Make it whatever font you like. I just have it really basic, but the font that I use on CapCut I think is called Modern. Now this part either works well or not depending on how well you're actually good at editing. All you've got to do here is just think what they're saying in the clip, put that in words, and then clip it out and then edit it out so the words don't go over the sides of the screen, and try and make sure you don't miss out on any dialogue. This bit is fairly straightforward, but sometimes I know what it's like where you don't actually know what they're saying in some of the videos, as people can speak quite quick. So you might just have to do a little bit of research on the clip that you've got to see what they actually say. Sometimes what I do, I change the color of the text so when a different person speaks, that way it's just an easy way of knowing who's speaking when. I know the editing with text can take a little bit of time, but if you're patient enough, it will be worth it. One other thing I do with text is that I usually don't keep it on the screen for that long, so once they've stopped saying it, I then just cut it out then. So depending on what the clip is like, obviously, you might be left with loads of gaps within the text, but I still think that looks pretty good. Once you're happy that you've added all the text in, the next thing you want to add is the sound. Now, you don't have to add a sound in, but I think it does look quite good on the posts. What I do for sound is I actually go to TikTok for mine, and then same thing again, you just screen record your phone. To add sounds to your post, you simply just go to sounds, and then you just go on extracted sounds, and then you can extract the sound from the video and add it on CapCut. Sometimes if you've got a longer video, it might be a bit hard to find a sound that's quite long on TikTok because most popular sounds on there aren't really that long. But here you can just play around with the sounds. Sometimes with a longer clip, I duplicate a sound midway through and people don't really tend to notice. One thing I would say though is don't make the sound too loud. You can edit the volume of the sound by clicking on it and then scrolling across the tab on the bottom and then clicking on the sound. Sometimes I even put my sound as low as about 9 or 10. You just don't want the sound to be too loud and so you can't even hear the dialogue in the actual video that you're posting. Or another thing you could do is that you could turn up the volume of the video that you've put in. Sometimes I put the volume to 200 or 300. Now at this stage you're pretty much done. If you do want to do anything further, and for example if you're doing a post fitting around a TikTok trend for example, then you could do a bit of editing. For some of my posts where I've fitted into a trend, you can just play around with the sounds on bass drops. One thing I quite like when I'm doing an edit is sometimes I add a picture and then I add the 3D effect on it. I just think it looks pretty good, and especially if you're doing a certain trend, it works quite well. But in the case if you're just solely focusing on getting the message across on the video, then you don't really need to do any effects after this point. Should I build a sandcastle? I tell you what, it is freezing. Once you've done all of that, you're pretty much set and ready to go. A couple of things you want to bear in mind though, when it comes to posting, I always post it as my original sound. So every time on TikTok, for example, that you make a new sound, or I just add it on the silent sound. If you do want to add it to a certain sound because you think it might get you more views, and sometimes that might be the case, then all you can do is just add the sound and then you just put the volume to 0 and I put your original volume to 200. I'm just going to say, if you are worried at all about any copyright issues that you might come across with the videos, one thing you could do is just that you could mention the source of the video. I tend to do that and just put it as a pinned comment on TikTok, for example, just so people are aware of where they can actually go to find the original source of the video. But overall, I haven't really found any sort of copyright strikes or anything along the lines of that as of yet. But I do see these posts on larger pages doing this anyway, so I think we're in the clear with that. Anyway, try these posts out, whether it be on TikTok, Instagram or YouTube. Just have a go. Like I said, try it out on different platforms, see which one works best for you, because you might find that you might have more success on one platform than the other. Anyway guys, that is it for today's video. If you did find this video useful, informative or whatever, just leave a like down below. It would really mean a lot to me. Anyway, I'll see you lot on the next one in a bit.